Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. We are live on both YouTube and Twitch. We have quite a bit of news to cover today, starting out with Sasha Banks versus the WWE. They are going head to head for the first time February 18th this month. We are talking the Brock Lesnar plans for the Elimination Chamber as well as the Bobby Lashley plans, which are closely tied. Ronda Rousey having been confirmed by Dave Meltzer to be in the tag division as of now. Sheamus potentially getting his way into the Intercontinental Championship match. We also are talking Becky versus Bayley, Uncle Howdy versus Bray Wyatt, Judgment Day moving to SmackDown, Beth Phoenix against Rhea Ripley, Shawn Michaels, a little bit on AEW's TV deal negotiations and the Fight Forever video game, John Cena for WrestleMania, and yeah, we're probably going to jump a little bit into the non-stop drama recently, which has been wrestling media in general. So strap yourselves in because there's a lot of news to cover, and of course we will still be answering as many of your questions as possible. Big thanks to D Freeman for that 17th month subscribed on Twitch. I often forget how long I've been doing this, and whenever someone puts in a new subscription I do get reminded. So welcome everyone to the show. Horsey says, good evening, Tom and chat. Remember to smash those likes, ladies and gents, for this legend. Appreciate that, Horsey. Carlos, pardon me, says, Elimination Chamber will finish around 11 p.m. EST. That's being Eastern Time on the US border. And New Japan is on the West Coast, starting at 10 p.m. Jaden says, hey Tom, hey Jaden, any Mercedes Mone news updates? Jaden, are you able to read the title of this video? You may know that there will be news on that one. Spiderboss says, hello Tom, why are WWE adding women from SmackDown in the Women's Chamber match of Raw? Because if they didn't, it would be a Raw pay-per-view. Outside of one match, it's all Raw so far. Spiderboss says, what's next for the IC title? More on that shortly. Who do I see winning the tag team tournament? Braun Strowman and Ricochet. It's the only logical choice. Christoph, welcome. Says, hi Tom, tonight's title is really intriguing to me. We will be jumping into that one in just a couple of minutes. I'll let the room fill up a little bit before we go in. John Gillis says, what is going on between Paige and Ringside News? You know it's not going to be Paige causing any trouble. Let's be fair. Historically, Ringside News, not the nicest of people. Venom says, hi Tom. Hello Venom. Ken says, what do higher-ups think of Liv Morgan? Do they still think she can be a world champion again? Absolutely they do. The reason she was pushed so strongly in the Royal Rumble is just to remind so many fans that they have not given up on her and they're not intending to do so any time soon. Backwards says, hey Tom, hope you're well. Doing very well, thank you. Backwards, welcome. Venom says, can you discuss the plans for Elimination Chamber regarding Roman Reigns? Absolutely I can. Marcel says, hey, how are you? Doing pretty well, Marcel. Yourself? And Spiderboss says, Meltzer saying Ronda will go through women's tag titles. Spoiler warning, said it first. Yes, we did. Raymond says, Mr. Colohue, great to see you. And you too, Raymond. Welcome to the show. Joey says, hi, Tom. Do you have any news tonight on the Bloodline fallout? Yes, we will be talking that in a little while. Venom says, I'm guessing the title unfortunately doesn't mean a possible Sasha return to the WWE. It does not. In fact, it very clearly indicates the otherwise. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob. Welcome to the show. And Sean says, I can't wait to see Sami and Roman tonight. Our first piece of news is as regards Sasha Banks versus the WWE, or to be more accurate, Mercedes Mone, whichever one it is, versus the WWE. New Japan have an amazing opportunity here with their Battle of the Valley pay-per-view, which is happening on the west coast of America on the same day as on the east coast of America. We will be seeing an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view from the WWE. This, of course, brings with it its own level of challenges. However, while the WWE are confident that their headline match for Elimination Chamber will be under no threat whatsoever, New Japan are seeing this as an amazing opportunity. Particularly, the idea seems to be that once people start switching off from WWE, they'll go looking for a former WWE star in Mercedes Mone. This is a huge opportunity for New Japan to really land themselves up. Thank you, Jonathan, for the clarification. Elimination Chamber in Canada. Of course it is. Sami Zayn, the hometown hero. That makes sense. Thanks for the clarification there. New Japan are expecting that people will switch over to watch their former star to see what Mercedes Mone is up to now And ultimately, they have been trying to break into the American crowd for a while now. Kenny Omega was going to be the one before he left the company. Then there was opportunities for people like Jay White, more for the Bullet Club, a little bit for Dick Togo, which took more focus than you'd think. Now that they have Sasha Banks, there is absolute confidence that they can make a massive impact on the American scene. Sasha Banks herself, or Mercedes Mone, as I should say, is also confident of this. That match is unlikely to be overlapping with Elimination Chamber, but will be scheduled in such a way that as Elimination Chamber finishes, you still have Sasha Banks to look forward to. If it does go on head-to-head, naturally it will not be a good thing for New Japan. However, Sasha Banks, from what I can tell and what I've been told, is very much up for the fight if it does come down to it. Sasha Banks not necessarily eager to protect former employers, and in many ways, while she's still showing respect to them, she will be more than happy to take that flag of New Japan directly against the WWE if necessary. Always a fun one when you start to hear about former WWE wrestlers looking forward to just going to war. Michael is here saying hi, Tom. Hello, Michael. Great to see you. I do have something to mention now. I have a quick something to mention. It's been a little while since we've done this. Honestly, I think it's been about a year, but if I can ask for a little help. As this show started, I put out a tweet, I'd scheduled it previously, stating that we are now live and encouraging people to pop in and check it out. It hasn't popped up for some reason. There we are. There it is. So far, very small number of views, only 4 minutes in, but I imagine most of you are already here. So can I ask for your help and your support, please? I'm just going to post it right into the chat, and I would like you, if possible, to quote tweet it. This is something we did a while ago pretty regularly, and it's one of the main reasons we grew so fast. If you're able to quote tweet it, tag me in, I will retweet you, we'll keep sharing, we'll keep advertising, and before you know it, we'll have a nice, full, growing chat. Right, Joey has asked about news tonight on the Bloodline fallout. Sami Zayn is Sami Zayn once again. It is not a temporary situation. It is not a situation whereby he's walking into trouble. It is not a situation where he's going to try and get back into the Bloodline. There is no intention to do that. Welcome, Khalid. Thank you very much for joining the show, for subscribing as well. You'll get notifications every time we go live with our spoiler warning news shows on Mondays and Fridays, and of course our SmackDown watch parties as well. So Roman Reigns will be looking for an amount of revenge, but his major focus will not actually be Sami Zayn, because while Sami is clearly on one side of the fence and will be looking to make amends with Kevin Owens, there is someone that Roman is much more concerned about, and that is Jey Uso. The storyline will now pivot from Jey Uso and Sami Zayn to Roman and Jey Uso, and also at the same time going into Elimination Chamber, Roman and Sami Zayn. All of this bloodline infighting is expected to be cleared up by the time we get to the end of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, premium live event, for the simple reason that Cody Rhodes is waiting in the wings and you need to get him involved again. Daz Welcome says, big up Tom, do you think we get Vince tonight? No, or any night. I do not think we'll get Vince any night. There was certainly, I believe it was Zero News, saying that we would get Vince McMahon at the Royal Rumble for definite. He hasn't turned up. He doesn't want to. For literally everyone I'm talking to is saying the same thing. He does not want to make any appearance on camera. He has very little interest with any creative. He'll occasionally talk to Triple H with his ideas, but that is as far as they go. There is no actual intention beyond that for any actual on-screen appearances. Please remember to hit the like button if you have just joined. We currently have 68 viewers and only the 22 likes, so if you can, hit that thumbs up. It makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel. And always, as soon as I see a lot of likes come in, we automatically get a whole lot of more people coming in who can then also potentially hit like as well. It does become a bit of a wrecking ball by the time we start to get quite a few in, so please remember to hit that thumbs up. Venom says, what are the plans for Nia Jax? I've heard nothing further about Nia Jax. I know she has merch. I know that there are creative ideas for her, and she would like to be more involved going forwards. However, at this point, I don't know what the next steps are. My suspicion is that we'll either see her next in a Battle Royal at WrestleMania, or she will automatically find her way into the Elimination Chamber. Christoph says ringside news are a true disgrace to wrestling media. Soraya hasn't done or said anything bad on this case. He's handling himself like a trolling mark. I will always remember the head of ringside news, Steve Carrier, reporting on a stalker trying to get into the performance center in Orlando. I will remember that because the very footage that they shared of the stalker on a Facebook Live contained someone called Steve Carrier in the actual chat saying, "Go in." Encouraging said stalker to try and break into the performance center. Encouraging said person to do something illegal because, hey, ringside news would be able to report on it. That tells me everything I could possibly need to know about ringside news. The fact that they have more than 300,000 followers, whereas I am struggling to get up to 10, tells me even more. Spider-Boss says, I hope Mercedes Mone versus Kyrie main event battle at the Valley. Seems unlikely at this point in time. They don't want to wait that long after Elimination Chamber. Joey says, now that Kota Ibushi is officially a free agent, do you know if WWE has any interest, or do you expect him to sign with AEW? WWE has massive interest in Kota Ibushi. Huge interest. Triple H in particular is a monster fan. He is desperate to sign Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi will be going to AEW. Jordan, welcome. Says, hi Tom, won't be able to watch the stream live tonight. We'll watch on catch up. Just jumping on to say good evening, sir. Good evening to you too, Jordan. Great to see you, mate. Spider-Boss says, could we see Mercedes Mone taking shots on WWE? We could. We won't. Will says, to be fair, you told us that Ronda might be in the tag team match at WrestleMania. I will actually put a video together on the members side, because I do these things on the members side, about what I knew and when. Because when it comes to the Ronda Rousey situation, I first said that we were going to see a Ronda Rousey-Shayna Baszler tag team run the day after Ronda Rousey arrived back in the WWE in January last year. So it's one of those that I'll be able to really break down for you. This is one of those I've known for a while. Khalid is saying, will we see Bray Wyatt tonight? Yes, we will see Bray Wyatt tonight. Backward says, what's going on with Karrion Kross? I was expecting more from his Rumble appearance. Good question. Difficult to answer. Ultimately, when it comes to Karrion Kross, whatever they were expecting from him, they've booked him in a way that he can't do it. Welcome, Peter. How you doing, mate? Thank you very much for lurking. Dad says, Tom, will we get Ray tonight or no? Yes, but not in the actual building. Devon says, do you think Mercedes will win the title? Yes, I do. They are trying to break into the American scene. What better way to do that than to have an American holding the championship? I also think it's not impossible that during the show, Mercedes Mone joins the Bullet Club. After all, who's going to not talk about that? Khalid says, will Ronda wrestle at Mania? Yes, she will. Christoph says, New Japan wants to go head-to-head with a WWE pay-per-view. Mercedes are not just a losing battle for them, in my opinion. The idea is, for the first hour, they'll be able to put the lower card matches on, and then as the first hour is wrapping up, they introduce Mercedes, so literally, as Elimination Chamber finishes, you can go, and there's Sasha Banks. It's a very clever little play. Pardon me. Dave says, imagine if the Usos turn on Roman and join Sami. Not an impossibility. It would be quite entertaining and would lead to Solo Sikoa taking on Jey Uso, which I wouldn't hate. Spider-Boss says, could Mercedes versus Kyrie match beat Elimination Chamber? No, it absolutely could not, for one very simple reason. Roman Reigns. As long as there is a Roman Reigns involved in this, there will be no moment at which Mercedes can overtake that situation. We have 3 quote tweets already for the tweet that I posted earlier. I'm going to retweet the first. Thank you very much, D. Freeman. Appreciate it. We have 2 more that I will be sharing shortly. I would advise against tagging Sasha Banks in a video about her, just to point that out. That's not a good call. Awkward. Oh, look, all these people are talking about you. Bit awkward, mate. Don't do that. Just in future, maybe don't do that. Rizal says, hi Tom, the SmackDown and Raw women's title is going to be defended at the Elimination Chamber. It looks unlikely at this point in time. One women's match will definitely be added to the card outside of the Chamber match that's already planned. However, I suspect that will be a Charlotte match rather than a Bianca Belair match. That said, I'm not sure who Charlotte could be actually competing against, other than, for example, someone like Lacey Evans. We'll see the beginning of something tonight, if that is the case. Venom says, do you think we'll see the build to Sami versus Roman tonight? Yes, absolutely. Timothy Bella says, hey Tom, I'm going to SmackDown tonight. Tom, well, apart from the double Tommy, I've got to say, Timothy, good news, mate. Hope you have a great time. Venom says, thank God, as long as he stays away from creative, the world is a better place. And Backwards says, hit that like button. We do have 78 viewers. See what happens when you click like a few times. And 33 likes, so please do remember to hit that thumbs up button. Joey says, do you have any updates on the WWE sale? Not at this point in time. They are still working out their next steps. They are still trying to appeal to as many people as possible to get the word out. Bids are starting to come in, but they are informal at this point in time. Two things just happened. Firstly, I want to say a thank you to Rapper, who came in and hit subscribe on this here YouTube channel. You'll get a notification every time we go live, and I very much thank you for that. But also, we had a donation from Horsey City Forever. Thank you very kindly. I did check out your Man City fan site on YouTube a couple of days ago. I really enjoyed your show on João Cancelo. Not a big fan of Man City in general, but I like good work when it's done. Welcome to the show, mate, and thank you very kindly. Traffic says, good evening, Tom and chat. As always, thanks for the news. Got some excitement going into SmackDown tonight. Should be a good one. It really should be. I'm very excited for SmackDown tonight. It's been kind of dull for the past few weeks. Nothing much has really been happening, so it's nice to know that we're coming off a Royal Rumble where things be crazy. Spider-Boss says, I love how Bayley improved her mic skills. I went from being roasted by Alexa to now delivering a savage promo on Becky. It was a heel turn, very much a heel turn. Venom, not sure when it comes to Nia Jax. Raymond says, Jay is the real story for me. How is this twist going to affect the Roman Sami program in your opinion? It will not. It is part of the Roman Sami program. By the end of Elimination Chamber, we will all have moved on from this particular moment. Thank you very much, Wiggly, for renewing your subscription on Twitch. This is a 19th month that you have subscribed. Thank you very kindly for being here for it. Lahawkman says, what is the plan with Bray going forward? We will be touching on that shortly, in about 3 minutes at most. Simon says, sorry I'm late, think Liv will win the women's title chamber. No. Michael says there was an individual on CNBC who hears that Comcast isn't likely to buy WWE. Interesting. Steve says, Mr. Colohue, hope you're doing well, sir. Thank you, Steve. Yes, I am. And I hope you are as well. I saw that a video of yours went live about half an hour ago. About 50 minutes ago. I thought it was alive. I was going to drop in. Callie says, evening, Tom. Welcome, Callie. And Alid says, how, Tom? How are you? Doing very, very well. Thank you. Simon, it is unlikely that Mercedes will main event a Battle at the Valley, whichever one it's called. By all means, just rewind if you want to find out why. Next piece of news then is as regards Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has been recently reported that the situation that we're looking at when it comes to Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley is that Brock has been booked for Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. I don't know why people are pretending to be surprised that Brock Lesnar is booked for WrestleMania. We kind of knew that was coming. It'd be a big surprise if he wasn't. After all, he's Brock Lesnar. Plans in the Elimination Chamber seem to be quite easy going and very, very easy to predict. Brock Lesnar will be getting some revenge on Bobby Lashley after being eliminated from the Royal Rumble. That, of course, will lead us directly to our WrestleMania plan for Brock Lesnar, which I've reported many months ago. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley will be feuding at WrestleMania for one final match between the two. Personally, I think it may be Bobby Lashley's night. We've also had confirmation via Dave Meltzer that Ronda Rousey will indeed be part of a tag team championship match at WrestleMania. The plan at the moment, according to Dave Meltzer, is Io Sky and Dakota Kai versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. You may be familiar with this one already. It was something that we've already reported, but I did just want to touch on the fact that now Dave Meltzer has reported it. It's nice to get a bit of confirmation, even if my name will never pop up as part of it. We currently have 75 viewers and 36 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit that like button. Also, we are extremely close to a milestone when it comes to subscribers. So if you've not yet done so, please remember to hit that subscribe button. We are currently sitting at 2,098 subscribers. Just 2 more will take us to 2,100. Just 2 more. So if you've not subscribed yet, please do consider it. Christoph says, any updates on Dragon Lee? Will he be on the NXT first or immediately main roster? From what I can tell, he's been booked for NXT and will likely work against Carmelo Hayes at some point soon if Carmelo Hayes isn't called up ahead of schedule. We will be talking Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy shortly. B-School Nick says, Tom, will we see Howdy tonight? Have you released your update on him yet? I have not. I'm waiting until the weekend to do so. Simon says, will Liv be on SmackDown tonight, Tom, to build the Women's Chamber PLE match? Likely so, yes. She has, of course, already been announced, and she is a Raw... Sorry, she's not a Raw superstar. She is a SmackDown superstar, so we will likely see her in some capacity. Khalid says, Tom, does Edge and Beth have a match at Elimination Chamber? More on that shortly as we get through the news. Spider-Boss says, do you see Rhea beating Charlotte at WrestleMania 39? Yes, I do. I very much see Rhea getting her win back, claiming the championship, and hopefully, going forwards, that will result in a at least somewhat long period of Charlotte Flair being away from the championship. Callie says, I'd like Jay and Sami to team up against Jimmy and Solo. That seems unlikely. The WWE do not want twins fighting each other because it's very difficult to call the action. Alex says, I have an idea if Roman versus Sami happens at the Chamber. Jay could cost Sami, but I'm not sure if he's allowed in Canada or is it just Jimmy that isn't allowed. To my knowledge, it is just Jimmy Uso who is not allowed. Will says, is the Judgment Day move in a SmackDown has something to do with if Roman loses the title and the Usos lose the tag title, the group may take time off after WrestleMania. Lots that you just said there, Will. I will be discussing Judgment Day shortly. Ray says, why did WWE think Sami Zayn is not a main event star? Simple reasoning. Sami Zayn doesn't act like a main event star, and Sami Zayn himself does not believe that he is a main event star. That's one of the main reasons for it. Simon says, do you see a Sami Zayn Occupy SmackDown movement similar to Daniel Bryan to get Sami in the WrestleMania 39 main event? No, I do not. I see Roman versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos. Spider-Boss has another lawsuit against Vince. Could this get any worse? Absolutely it could, and absolutely it will. There is plenty more to come out via the Wall Street Journal and others. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I did say we'd start to hear more about this. Here we are with exactly that happening. Dom says, what's up, Tom and chat? Don't forget to hit the like button. We have 2 words for you. Why not? Wiggly says, what's the long-term plan for Asuka then? My expectation is that Asuka will be winning the Elimination Chamber match and going on to face Bianca Belair. I cannot guarantee a win for her. After all, Bianca Belair is basically unstoppable at this point in time. But if they want this particular version of Asuka to succeed, they're going to need to make a decision nice and quick about pushing her and pushing her hard. Next up, if you've seen my video about the planned WrestleMania 39 card, you will already be fully aware that the match that was planned between Gunther and Drew McIntyre may have Sheamus joining it sooner rather than later. The success of Clash at the Castle and the 5-star match between Sheamus and Gunther means that the WWE have gone back to that well on several occasions and do plan to do so more and more in the future. And after all, why not? But the plan was always, and has been for a very long time, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, as first reported here on the Tom Colohue channel. Meanwhile, when people were busy reporting that it would be Gunther versus Brock Lesnar, we were still on the Tom Colohue channel reporting that it was going to be Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. Another reason I encourage people to subscribe if they haven't already. I'm just retweeting one more of our quote tweets. I will continue to do so to continue advertising the show over the course of it. Venom says, just want to say thanks for the Raw watch along, Tom. Really enjoyed it. Do you think it was a success to do them a little more often? Depends what you mean by success. I had fun and I enjoyed it. However, I was a zombie while working the next day and I gained 0 subscribers. So, depends what you mean by success. Steve says, my question today is if you were hosting a dinner party for 3 wrestlers of your choice, which wrestlers would you choose and why? 100% Shawn Michaels would be there. 100% Triple H would be there. I just really want to know more about Shawn versus Brett, and Triple H is legit my favourite wrestler, but then it would definitely be Jay White. 100% Jay White. Or Becky. Oh, Becky would be a good shout. Becky, Seth and Finn would be great. There's lots of really good options. Simon says, do you see WWE splitting the world titles at Mania 39? Not anymore, no, but I do see them being split shortly afterwards. Also says, thanks mate, glad you enjoyed it. Channel is doing well recently. Very happy. Glad to hear it, mate. Glad to hear it. You're doing very well hosting over there as well. The WrestleTalk podcast says, hello. Hello, WrestleTalk. How are you? Sean said, is Sami cutting his hair and bringing back his own theme? I don't want to be like a spoiler of everything, mate. Calm down. Backward says, I really hope we see Gunther become world champion. He's honestly one of the best in wrestling today. The intention of Triple H is to ensure that Gunther does become a world champion and becomes a dominant one at that. We will see more and more of his work in the near future. Nelson says, I hope Roman beats Cody at Mania. Roman will not be beating Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Spider-Boss says, who do you see winning the women's chamber match? Asuka. Simon says, do you see Roman pulling double duty defending both world titles? Not at this point in time. No, though that is continually under discussion as first reported right here. Christoph says, Nick Garner said the WWE sale could be a fast process, maybe 3 months. I made an article on it and sent it to you. I did spot that. I did note that you'd sent me that, but I did already notice this particular piece of news via other outlets, so I was fully aware of it. Horsey, you've missed a little bit of news, but I don't think you've missed much. You can always zip back and watch from the beginning. Spiderboss says, Brock Lesnar versus Lashley, big meaty men slapping meat. Roger Sims says, will WWE sign FDR when their contracts are up in AEW? If the FDR want to be signed by the WWE, then yes. Venom says, is Brock going to break into the chamber and screw Bobby? I can certainly see that happening. Simon says, who do you see filling the last 2 spots in the women's chamber and winning it? Whoever wins the 2 qualifying matches that we are waiting on at the moment. Khalid says, Tom, will Ronda be a face at WrestleMania? No. Simon says, do you see Liv in the women's tag team title match at WrestleMania 39? Yes, I do. I definitely think we'll see Liv Morgan and a partner, Tegan Nox. A lot of people are considering Raquel Rodriguez right now, which certainly is someone they want to push. But you're going to need to have a face team in there somewhere. Spiderboss says, any plans for Gigi Dolan and JC Jane after NXT Vengeance? Yes. Also, Charlotte in non-title matches would be fun to see. Venom says Mello will beat Breaker. He's the second hardest pushed NXT star behind Breaker, and if not Mello, then who? How about someone who hasn't debuted yet? Simon says Nia Jax has 2 independent signings with high spots RF videos at Lena Fanini. Has she not signed with the WWE then? It is every possibility that she's just wrapping up her dates. With the fact that merch was released, that's a very clear indication. Christoph says Ronda and Shayna versus Damage Control, heel versus heel. Nah, Liv and Tegan will probably be added to the mix, as you reported a few weeks ago. KJ says, what's up, Tom? Would you agree that WWE is on fire right now? Yes and no. I think Raw and SmackDown has been a bit bland for the past few months since Survivor Series. That said, I think they're making very good choices with the Royal Rumble. I think they're making very good choices for potential matches at WrestleMania. After all, there are 3 matches that the WWE executives genuinely think are 5-star potential. That being Gunther versus Drew McIntyre, potentially versus Sheamus. That being Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos. And that being Becky Lynch versus Bayley. Speaking of Becky Lynch versus Bayley, I have a little bit of exclusive news as regards Becky versus Bayley a couple of Raws ago. There was a report out that their match, in the cage match in particular, was cut for time. They were told that they would either get a 1-minute cage match at most, or they could just do a beating. So I've been speaking to people about this, and what I've learned is that the match was never planned to be more than 5 minutes anyway. The whole plan for the match was to be very, very brief and very, very teasing. They were going to hit a couple of big moves, and then there was going to be the attack from Damage Control. From here on out, the story going into WrestleMania is that Becky Lynch cannot escape Damage Control, and thus it becomes necessary for Damage Control to be distracted by Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Becky Lynch is going to want at least a moment of Bayley's time. They are planning to tease us with the upcoming cage match as well, though they're also fully aware that fans were disappointed that they didn't get a longer cage match leading into it. The plan was not to have a particularly long cage match. It was not going to be more than 5 minutes. Certainly not the half-hour opening matches that we have come to expect from the beginning of SmackDown or the beginning of Raw. It was always going to be brief to whet our appetite for WrestleMania. Venom says it doesn't seem to be much for Damian Priest out of All Judgment Day, not much going for him. True, the addition of Dominic Mysterio has kind of demoted the focus on Damian Priest, which is a little disappointing, but it's one of those where I kind of get it. Damian Priest, obviously, is still a key part of Judgment Day, but at this point, he needs to find his own way to stand out. Thomas Phipps, welcome, mate. Says, hi, Tom. Sorry I'm late. So about the NXT main championship, I've always felt it has been best on a heel champion and not a face. When it comes to heel or face in NXT, as long as they're in the main event, they don't really care when they're booking the show. KJ says it doesn't feel like it, but Bianca is almost at a year as Raw Women's Champion. Indeed, just 2 months away. Traffic says that's the best part of Sami. If it's main event versus Roman or a match against a member of Jackass, he's going to make it work. Big respect for him. Simon, you've told us that fun fact about Asuka several times, particularly around this time last year. Says, do you see Candice, Mia, maybe Natty Tamina possibly being added to the women's tag team match to make it 4 or 5-way? You cannot have a 5-way tag team match in a 4-corner ring. Spider-Boss says, I like the rumour killer section this week. Thanks for letting me know that, Spider-Boss. I appreciate that. We certainly did that on Monday, and historically we have done that. We've examined the rumours and just seen what actually was proven true. Because if you look back historically, you see a lot of things that definitely weren't true. It says, does Roman only defend the WWE title at Mania 39? It doesn't seem so anymore, which is a clear suggestion that he is not going to be doing double duty. Justin says, if Alexa misses Mania this year, like I think she will, that means she hasn't been in a match in 4 out of 5 Manias. Ridiculous. And people wonder why a lot of Alexa fans want the goddess back. People do not wonder that in any way, shape or form. People know why they want the goddess back. Ofa says, hey, Tom. Cool. Simon, yes, I see Mercedes winning the championship. Trekipedia says, apparently there are reports Ronda and Shayna are going for the women's tag belts at Mania. Trekipedia, lovely to see you. We have been speaking about this for a while, and it was mentioned in my Wednesday video that went live here on YouTube as well. We have been discussing this for a couple of weeks, and it was, I believe, straight after Ronda Rousey lost the championship to Charlotte that I first said, factually and with multiple sources, she will be in the Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania. It is part of her contract, as I've reported previously as well. Thomas says, have any matches or segments been announced for SmackDown tonight? Yes, quite a few. Check it out. Moises says, thanks for all the info, Tom. Thank you, Moises. I appreciate that. And Simon says, what happens if Cody wins both titles? Does he just vacate the Universal title? There's a draft coming, mate. Venom says, Shane Roman won't reach 1,000 days. He's so close. Was hoping Volta would reach 1,000 when he was NXT UK champ. Didn't quite get there. Will says it almost feels like they knew Vince would try and come back and they're letting all the stuff coming out. That may or may not be the case. They may have held on to some information in case it did pop back up to release when the time was right. Khalid says, who does Becky face at Mania? Bayley. We have discussed this a few times. Simon says, Liv and Raquel, really very interesting as a tag team. Liv's 4th different tag team on the main roster. And in fact, I believe her third in the last 12 months, because Rhea Ripley was a tag team partner at last year's WrestleMania. WrestleTalk says, do you think LA Knight has a chance of winning Money in the Bank this year? Nope. Backward says, I could see Gunter breaking Honky Tonk Man's record as longest reigning IC champ if he leaves Mania as champion. And I do think he will, but I don't think he'll beat that championship reign. Spider-Boss says, does Becky win the cage match on Raw? No, probably not. Simon says, Liv, Bayley, The New Day, Sonya were on the USA version of Wheel of Fortune. It was not The New Day, it was Big E. Just Big E. Venom says, I'm not sure I see Bayley versus Becky feud making it to Mania, as they've got a cage match coming up this Monday. I have been speaking exactly about that and what the intended plan was for the original cage match, which this is replacing. Roger says, will Carmella be getting a push? I hope she's in the Elimination Chamber. I think it's very likely she will be in the Elimination Chamber. She will not be winning it. Simon says, will Becky versus Bayley match have any stipulation, and what part will Seth play in the feud? They will talk about Seth. That's it. Venom says, if we get Balor versus Edge at Mania and Hell in a Cell match, why not use the cell for Becky versus Bayley as well? Because then there will be less excitement about Edge versus Finn Balor. Hector says, I know you spoke about Ronda and Shayna being in a women's tag team title match. I can't believe we're actually going to see Io, Ronda, Dakota and Shayna in the ring. It's going to be a banger if it happens. Dakota and Shayna, by the way, very close and look very, very good in a ring together. Spider-Boss says, I think the only thing we'll never know is why Mercedes Venado wasn't at SummerSlam 2021. Yep, we will never know that. That says I shared it on a Twitter page. I do. Okay, does. JJ says, hey Tom, sorry I'm late. Some people on Twitter think Ronda and Shayna will team up with Becky, that way they can challenge for the tag titles. Do you see that or a contender match? I see them beating the hell out of everyone possible until they get given their match. I don't think Becky plays into it. Historically, the idea of teaming up with Becky for Ronda Rousey, unlikely. Just, you know, unlikely. It's not a strong concept, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry guys, I'm just retweeting a tweet. After all, we gotta grow somehow. Venom says, I don't see that. They would think they were overusing the match. Yeah. Christoph says, your prediction for the Fatal 4-Way tonight, Tom? My pick is Shotzi. I think there's some good options there. I don't think Natalya is going to be it. I think you might be right with Shotzi, to be honest. Joey says, what's the news on Uncle Howdy and Bray? In fact, let's get to that right now. It is increasingly likely that Bray Wyatt will be facing Uncle Howdy at WrestleMania, and that this will be the sponsored match, like a Cinnamon Crunch Lights Out match or something of that ilk for Bray Wyatt versus Uncle Howdy. LA Knight is still likely to be tied into this storyline, but the unveiling of Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy seems unlikely. From what I can tell, he'll actually be wrestling as Uncle Howdy, and Bray will be wrestling as a new variant of The Fiend, a very similar character to The Fiend, but not the actual Fiend mask. Bray at the moment is finding it a little challenging, but relishing the challenge of writing the storyline between himself and Uncle Howdy, LA Knight ultimately a bit part player in it, but he is not getting everything his own way. While he does have an element of creative control, he does have the supervision of the long-term booking director, Rob Fee, and that is certainly supplying some limitations to him for what Bray Wyatt wants to do with these particular storylines. Uncle Howdy, at least for the moment, is working with Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt's job is to feed him. To feed him. And for anyone who doesn't already know, as first reported right here in the Tom Colohue channel, Bo Dallas is playing the part of Uncle Howdy. Spiderboss says, do you think Bianca's title reign has got stale? Not as of yet, I just think she's running out of challenges. Simon says, Tom, would you prefer Liv to team with Tegan or Raquel? I'd go personally with Tegan, primarily because I've seen it most recently, but I do think Raquel is going to be the one that Triple H wants to push. Venom says, do you see Indy or Zoe being called up after Mania since they were in the Rumble? No. The Hawkman said, could Alexa be involved with what Bray does at WrestleMania? We know Bray teased it during the press conference. I did mention that on my video on the subject from Wednesday. Ghost says, hi Tom and chat. Hope everyone is doing well. After Roman loses the titles at WrestleMania, do you see him stepping away for just a little while to regroup, or could this be his last hurrah? I don't think we're at his last hurrah just yet. Not just yet. But I do think he'll take a little time away and reduce his date similar to where Edge is at the moment. So I think we'll still see plenty of Roman Reigns, but I think he may have a large time off between, for example, WrestleMania and SummerSlam. After that, he may have something to do with the Bloodline once we get back to it. Simon says, do you see a title tournament for the world title Cody no longer holds? No. Ray says, do you have any Rosemary merchandise? Not personally, no, though. As you know, I'm a big fan of it. Joey says, do you know if there's still interest in Matt Cardona? I was kind of surprised to see him not in the Rumble. I never reported that there was interest because I've never heard of there being interest. Much as I couldn't report about Chelsea Green because I didn't know. Thomas says, I missed Raw this week. Has Cody said that he's going for both belts? He has indeed. Spiderboss is asking about Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. Please do check out that video on Wednesday about the WrestleMania match card. Simon says, Tom has been reporting that Liv will be in the women's tag team title match for a while now. That is a match I expect to see. The only real thing I've been reporting with clarity is that Ronda Rousey will be challenging for the tag team championships. The full complement of potential teams I'm not fully aware of. Alice says, any update on Jay White's contract situation with New Japan? No update at this point in time, just that this particular conversation is a constant in wrestling. Christoph says, do you know if Edge has already a Legends contract with WWE or not? WWE don't really do Legends contracts anymore. Edge's contract is as a wrestler, not necessarily a full-time wrestler, a limited date contract, as so many others already have, such as, for example, AJ Styles. JJ says, I hope they don't make Becky and Bayley feud just about Seth. They will not be doing so. Code says, I think it will be Charlotte versus Natalya at Elimination Chamber. as two Canadians to get their title match in Montreal. Not a bad shout code. I could definitely see that happening. That does make a lot of sense. Just before we continue, let's go on for a bit more news, shall we? Be sure to hit like, by the way. We have 93 viewers and only the 45 likes. We are still less than half of our viewers have hit that like button. Our total views so far, 221, but still only the 45 likes, so please do consider it. And also, if you've not yet done so yet, what am I saying? If you've not done so yet, please consider subscribing. We are at the cusp of a huge milestone. We only need 2 new subscribers to reach 2,100, and I'll be very, very grateful of your time and support. Hector says, I don't know if... actually, we were just going to talk about... sorry. I'll get back to you, Hector. Judgment Day to SmackDown in the draft is certainly gaining a lot of steam. The fact that Rhea Ripley has won the Royal Rumble means that Rhea Ripley can now turn up at SmackDown and is likely to do so a lot in the coming weeks and the coming months. She will be bringing at least Rey Mysterio with her, but Judgment Day itself may follow. With this in mind, and with the fact that Edge will be staying on Monday Night Raw, I find it very likely that Judgment Day will be moving to SmackDown in the draft. Now, as we get closer to the draft, I'll be doing a lot of videos on draft predictions and whom I expect will be going over to the other side. But just remember, Judgment Day definitely going to be one of them. And the disbanding of the Bloodline is a large part of it. For me, when it comes to Judgment Day, when they do move over, they will become a dominant faction. Also, it means we are likely to get matches such as Damian Priest versus Gunther, which I'm just very excited about. Speaking of Rhea Ripley, though, there is still an ongoing storyline with Beth Phoenix. They did not really reference it during Monday Night Raw. However, she did feature at the Royal Rumble, Beth Phoenix, and we are likely to see her again soon. I suspect we may see Beth Phoenix fed to Rhea Ripley at the Elimination Chamber to make Rhea Ripley look like even more of a threat to Charlotte Flair. Personally, I'd be very, very happy with that, and I do think when you're leading up to a big match at WrestleMania, a potential Night 1 main event like Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, Beth Phoenix is ideally placed to take the loss on this one. Hector says, I don't know if you've talked about, considering I just got here, but in Nick Khan's interview today with CNBC, where the host said he's heard Comcast wasn't interested in buying WWE, Khan disagreed, and I hope Nick Khan is right, because that's my preferred buyer for WWE. To be blunt, Nick Khan would definitely know more than the host at CNBC. Venom says, it's so confusing, Uncle Howdy, make up your damn mind, you're either with or against Bray Wyatt. Bray wants to keep you guessing, and he's very successfully doing it by making no sense. Carmelina says, do you think Jay will be there tonight? Yes, I do. KJ says, Cinnamon Toast Crunch match, does that mean we get a large bowl of milk? Hopefully not, but we've seen worse. We've seen worse. Simon says, do you see Bret Hart making an appearance at Elimination Chamber in Montreal? I mean, that'd be very much a Vince McMahon move. I don't think he and Triple H are particularly close. Jermaine says, hi Tom, just got out of work. What Sasha Banks Mercedes Mone news did I miss? I said it right at the beginning, Jermaine, so that I could say to people, just pop back right to the beginning and you'll immediately get that update. I literally just opened with it to make sure that people knew what was going on. So by all means, pop back to about 5 minutes into the stream and there it will be waiting for you. Venom says, when do you think Bo Dallas will reveal his Uncle Howdy? I don't think he will. I feel Uncle Howdy will go the wayside and we'll get Bo Dallas revealed as someone else. And Venom also says, we better get some call-ups. Simon says, do you see Alexa helping Bray or Uncle Howdy in their match at Mania 39? I think Alexa Bliss is not going to get a match by any other medium. So if she's going to be involved at WrestleMania, it will be in some capacity with Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy, which for me is the right way to go. Joey says there would be a terrible Mania match if they do another cinematic match. I feel like that will ruin Bray Wyatt's character. There is no intention, to my knowledge, to go cinematic when it comes to Bray Wyatt, now that we no longer are in the pandemic. Simon, too many questions. I don't mean stop asking questions, that's not what I mean. But there is no way to answer your question because of all the questions that arises from it. Venom says, I wanted Roman to defend the title separately in Mania, but it's kind of good he's not, because now he's not taking up both Mania main events. That would be what would happen if Roman did double duty. Welcome, Wrestling and Magic. How the devil are you? Ghost says, just so everyone knows, segments announced for SmackDown tonight includes the Bloodline issues, Charlotte vs Sonya for the SmackDown Women's title, Imperium vs Ricochet and Strowman in the Tag Team title tournament finals, Shayna vs Natty vs Alina vs Shotzi for a spot in the Elimination Chamber, and the fallout of an incident involving Rey Mysterio, the New Day, and Judgment Day, which makes it very possible we will get a New Day versus Judgment Day match tonight. Spider-Boss enjoyed the boos that Roman got after the beatdown of Sami, and so he should. He is, after all, the heel. And Wrestling and Magic agrees as regards Judgment Day. Simon says, do you see Candice and Mia being added to the women's tag team match? Nope. Venom says, please give me the match I want, Priest versus Volta. Hector says, do you see AJ and the Good Brothers also going to SmackDown or not? After all, AJ is a face that runs this place. No, I do not. I absolutely do not see AJ and or the Good Brothers going to SmackDown. Simon says they're having 2 men's and women's battle royals this year at WrestleMania 39. They are not. They're having 1 men's and 1 women's. Christoph says Rhea versus Beth. Please, Hunter, book it. Joey says they're different people playing Uncle Howdy. The person that pops up on the screen has a different outfit. No, the original person usually on the screen was Bray Wyatt. They've recorded a lot using Bray Wyatt, so sometimes they use that if they haven't got a good bit with Bo. But Bo has been the person playing Uncle Howdy out on the actual live element. Simon says, will Braun Strowman be on the Mania 39 card? Maybe. Buck Spaceman says, if Asuka wins the Chamber, is she going over at Mania? I think she should, especially with a new character. Otherwise, protect Asuka at Elimination Chamber by having someone pinned. Something happen where she doesn't get pinned. I see Asuka winning at Elimination Chamber, going on to face Bianca. I don't know what's going to happen then, but I definitely see her winning. You can't protect her by going halves. It would mean more, I feel, if she won the Chamber and then lost, rather than if she lost the Chamber and did nothing at Mania. Spider-Boss says, do you see WWE giving a strong push to Dominic Mysterio after WrestleMania? Yep, because they're doing so right now. Right now. Dominic Mysterio is in the midst of a massive push right now. Leuven says, hey Tom, welcome Leuven. Harry says, hi Tom, any news about Sami Zayn? Other than the news that he'll be facing Roman at the Elimination Chamber? Not really. Leuven says, Nia wasn't on Raw, so therefore she is confirmed in the Bloodline. Massive leap of faith there, Leuven. Venom says, I missed Dragunov in NXT. I wonder when he's returning. Andrew Quinn says, when do we see Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, appear? I have no source on this one. I have no information on this one. I have absolutely no idea on this one. Wiggly says, sorry Tom, bit distracted by work stuff, but I'm listening in the background. I'll contribute more during the watch along. Absolutely fine, mate. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I appreciate the lurk and I appreciate the fact that you are checking in. Spider-Boss says, do you see Damian Priest getting kicked out of the Judgment Day anytime soon? No, why? Leuven says, is anyone confirmed injured from the Rumble and will be out for a while? No, not that I can tell. Cody was injured, but he's absolutely fine now. Rhea Ripley was injured, but she's absolutely fine now. And Kofi Kingston was kind of injured, but he's absolutely fine now. Alex says, Uncle Howdy's botch at the Rumble was bad. Was it? He wasn't trying to land on anyone. He landed on his spot. Stuart says, I'm sure those chants at the end of Rumble would have been a bit more creative if it had been held here in the UK. I'm not sure it would have been. I just think if it was in the UK, it would have been louder. Christoph says, was reported a few weeks ago, Howdy was keeping his identity secret even in WWE backstage. I immediately thought to myself, does at least Liv aware that Howdy is... Christoph, I did want to ask a question. You've said that you've been using me as a source a few times on your outlet. Whenever I put a Google in, I don't find them. I'm interested to see why that might be. Welcome, Robs. How you doing? How you doing, mate? Simon says, any news on what Stone Cold could be doing possibly at Mania 39 and non-wrestling role? Nope. It's McCade says, what does the title of the video mean, Tom? If you want to pop back to just 5 minutes into the video, there or thereabouts, I do report news as regards Sasha Banks, New Japan and WWE for the head-to-head that they are planning. Venom says, I want Brock and Dominic in a steel cage. It'd be so entertaining to see Brock batter Dom. The day may come, but at the moment, Brock versus Bobby has more importance. Sean says, hi Tom. Welcome, Sean. No news, Simon. No news at all. Spider-Boss says, did WWE move maximum male models to Raw? No. However, with the draft upcoming, there has been a lot more of a relaxed element. Basically, since Triple H came over, became the chief content officer, I should say, there has been a very, very, very grey area in the middle of the brands. For example, Damage Control have been back and forth on both. Quite a few people have. And Triple H, to my knowledge, not big on having clean, separate brands. He likes to be a bit more flexible. Look at Kevin Owens at the moment, for example. That's what's happening. Hector says, hear me out, Tom. Have Cody keep both titles till SummerSlam, having to do double duty and win the WWE title match, lose the Universal after a cash-in by the 2023 winner, Finn Balor. Especially if he's expected to get a big push this year, it would be great. It would be great. Finn Balor, to my knowledge, is not expected to get a big push this year. Sean says, funny how Dave Meltzer reported what you've been saying for months about Ronda. Yeah, it absolutely is. Just to be clear, guys, I want to be very open about this one. When it comes to Twitter, as an example, if you tag me in a tweet putting over a report that I've made, I will find it, and I will probably retweet it. Because I love it when my timeline is full of other people telling people to check out my work. So I would really appreciate it, if you'd continue to jump in on that. I really do appreciate it. Leuven says, saying Howdy botched is like saying Jericho falling off the blood and guts cage exposed the business. Bismo says, thanks Tom for your streams. It helps me with the stress I'm dealing with, taking care of my uncle who has dementia. Sorry to hear that, Bismo, I really am. I'm glad you found something that will keep your spirits up, and hopefully I can continue to provide any support I can. Leuven says, any news on Sammy Guevara going to WWE? No, because there is no plan to do so. Leuven says, any AEW news at all? Yes, there is, and in fact, let's get to that right now. There's one more WWE piece and then two pieces on AEW, so let's start with the WWE one. Shawn Michaels has confirmed a report that I made the day Mandy Rose was fired and released by the WWE. He has confirmed that he did not fire her and that he did not want to fire her. I just wanted to point out that one. It's a bit of a confirmation of a report that I made a long time ago. Exclusive news that can only be found at Spoiler Warning with Tom Colohue. As regards the AEW news, there are two pieces of news and they're both quite large pieces. Fight Forever, the AEW video game, is supposedly coming out this month, but is apparently internally delayed. They have not announced the actual release date and have no intention of doing so just yet. It has been pushed back. However, Tony Khan and sources close to him state that Tony Khan is on a mission to make sure the game comes out either before or around the same time as the WWE game. He wants a direct comparison between the two games, and he is confident that his game will be able to deliver at a grander scale. That said, the more he pushes the game, the more likely it's going to be that it is not entirely finished by the time it is released, and it will require a number of patches to get it firmly off the ground. Tony Khan, here's our second piece, is also involved in negotiations for a new TV deal for AEW, and, according to sources there, the negotiations are not going fantastic. Because of the massive difference between the ratings when AEW launched and the ratings now, particularly for Dynamite and Rampage, the company currently offering them a TV deal is not particularly enamoured of paying the same amount as they had done, knowing that they are getting a less viewed product and that the sponsorship they will get is slightly weaker. Tony Khan has decided to try and raise his personal profile to encourage a positive result. So to try and make sure that he gets the income that he's expecting from a new TV deal, he has decided to raise his personal profile, and this explains the magazine cover that we've seen recently, and of course a lot more of a push for Fulham Football Club as well. Essentially just trying to keep them into the Premier League, and to be honest, he's not doing a terrible job of that. So, that's AEW news. Aled says, is there a time frame for AJ Styles' return? Yes, there is. However, I'm not privy to it. Simon says, do you think Liv possibly appearing on Raw in the next couple of weeks of it being a Raw Women's title match chamber? Yeah. That's the plan. Thomas says, do you think if Roman does go on an extended break after Mania that we could see a Rock appearance at the Raw after Mania, set up a match at WrestleMania 40, similar to the Cena versus Rock angle? I do not know. I don't. I'm still not hearing anything about The Rock turning up. I haven't. At no point have I heard anything about The Rock turning up either at WrestleMania or in and around WrestleMania. As best I can tell, there is simply no interest in that happening from The Rock's side. Thank you kindly for that shout out. I didn't realise you actually didn't follow me on Twitter. If people don't follow me on Twitter, now would be a great time to start. Spider-Boss says, I never imagined Dominic Mysterio getting a big push, and here we are. I hope Dominic succeeds. He's doing extremely well so far. Sean says, is the wrestling blog reliable, Tom? Because they said that Cody's promo wasn't scripted. It was all improvised until Judgment Day came out. I'm not aware of the wrestling blog. At some point, we may have to do a bit of a rumour killer or a rumour starter on it to see how they do. Hector says, Tom, can you believe it's been 20 years since the formation of Evolution? One of, if not the greatest faction ever, with a combined 50 world title reigns. And my OCD is very happy that Daniel Bryan stopped that getting to 51. Spider-Boss says, why has WWE delayed the NXT call-ups? Because they keep signing people and filling up spots on the main roster with people they're bringing back. Ghost says, considering how long it's been since the game was originally announced, the fact that there's even any possibility of the game not being at least somewhere near completed is not a good sign. Those first reviews coming out means a lot, and if they're not very positive, it's not going to be good for the success of the game. You're absolutely right. And thus far, they have not shared any demo codes or anything of that kind. Anything. Which is questionable, certainly. Thomas says, do you think if Roman does go on an extended break after... I've already read that one. Christoph says, clarification, I did not quote you on my Fed. I've asked you if I eventually could. So I don't really understand what you can find about me on Google. I'm still nobody yet. I was essentially searching to see if you had quoted me. I misunderstood the conversation. For this was something in which you had started to do so. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. Simon says, Dave Meltzer is now saying Rock versus Roman could happen at Mania 40. So it's 5 years then. 5 years in a row he's made the same rumour. Luvin says, I mean, Mandy having adult content out there is good publicity, just not the publicity that WWE wants. Yeah. That's exactly true. Sean says, I hope Cora Jade is okay. She blacked out all of her social media accounts. There was a lot of trend about her recently. It was linked to that. Hector says, I feel like Dave Meltzer is trolling us at this point, Tom, with him reporting that The Rock could be at WrestleMania 40. Like I said, this how many years in a row? 5. He said this 5 years in a row. 5 in a row. No, Simon, I don't see Liv winning the tag titles. Venom says, will KO be involved in the build to Sami versus Roman at the Chamber? Yes, he will. KO is likely to be on SmackDown more than he is on Raw in the build to WrestleMania. Will says, Triple H also backed up your report about The Rock after the Royal Rumble. Yeah, he did. You guys know how often this happens. Like, you guys know how often this happens. Even if it's just a case of, even if it was just a case that when someone made the report, like the Dave Meltzer report today about Ronda Rousey, even if when he did that, we sent him a few messages basically saying, hi Dave, just if you can update your article to point out that it was first reported on the Tom Colohue spoiler warning, I'd be very grateful. He wouldn't. I don't feel that he would, but we may need to start sending some messages about it. Luvin says, I can admit I stopped tuning into AEW. I used to complain about WWE's match quality, but now that AEW is putting on sensational matches with not as intriguing stories as WWE, makes me realise I need both. There is a balancing act. There is a balancing act there. Harry says, do any returns happen at WrestleMania? That we'll know that for sure at WrestleMania. Venom says, was disappointed with seeing the new gameplay of WWE War Games is only 3v3 when it's supposed to be at least 4. This year it was 5. It just seems a bit lazy. They are still working certain things out, but what I will say is that 2K24 is not a big improvement on 2K23. If that's how it goes. Is it not 2K23? 2K23 is not a massive improvement on 2K22. Thomas says, how do you see the angle of Sami and KO versus the Usos going, especially with Jay leaving at the end of the Rumble? I'm confident that there is going to be a charm offensive by Roman to try and bring Jay back into the fold, and the Elimination Chamber, he will do so. Lauren, hello, says the storylines AEW works on are spaced over 4 shows and 4 vlogs. The stories are there, they're long term, but they do take a bit more digging than some. As someone who's more of a casual viewer of AEW, this doesn't work for me. Andrew Quinn says, there is a dream match I want at Mania 39. Bray vs. Cross would be incredible. Also, the graphics of 2K23's gameplay is incredible. Cena showcase will be quality. Dominic says, hi Tom. My condolences to Lanny Poffo, one of my childhood favourites. Me and my kid will be watching SmackDown and your watch party. Thank you, Dominic. Look forward to seeing you there, and quite rightly said. No, Sean, I have no news on that. Hector says, Tom, I have a feeling that tonight's going to be a must-watch SmackDown, especially if the Bloodline opens. Then I promise you guys, it's going to be a must-watch party that you can tune into later. Kieran says, have you seen all the stuff that Ringside News have been tweeting about recently? Do you know anything about all that? Yes, I do. I'm going to jump into that just as soon as I've caught up with the remaining chat. Spider-Boss, the only thing that changes in WWE 2K games is the buttons to hit the finishers. Thank you for letting me know, Wiggly. Is anyone else getting lag on the stream? Anyone else getting lag on the stream, or is it just Wiggly? Eddie says, update on Brian Cage, AOP and FTR. There is no update. I can't provide anything there. Harry says, any news about Rey Mysterio? We will get more Rey Mysterio on SmackDown tonight. JJ says, do you know who wrote Bayley's script on Monday? Didn't think the line, Seth only married Becky because he knocked her up was necessary. It's like they wanted her to say it to add heat to the feud. She and Becky sat down and wrote their own scripts. That says, any news on Micro or Wardlow? I don't know who Micro is. But once again, AEW, I've shared the news that I've got. I don't get a lot of AEW news. Thank you very much, Aled. Thank you very much, Venom. Thank you very much, Luvens. Thank you very much, Harry. And JJ for clarifying that we are not experiencing any lag, at least on the YouTube side at the moment. Thomas says, have you heard anything about when Ciampa is expected to be back? Relatively soon. Creative hiatus at the moment. Creative hiatus. Thank you very much, guys. So, two final bits of news to discuss. First and foremost, John Cena. Creative are working on trying to make John Cena versus Austin Theory happen at this year's WrestleMania. John Cena wants it to happen, but obviously he has a very busy schedule. Austin Theory would love it to happen. However, and I need Miro, got you Daz. I need to be very, very clear here when I say this, that this is a discussion. It is not reported as fact. There is talk about making a showcase about John Cena because John Cena's last match is incoming. A WrestleMania match, potentially with Austin Theory, could be John Cena surrendering to the fact that he is no longer a WWE wrestler and riding off into the sunset, leaving behind Roman Reigns as the guy at the very top. John Cena may have his last match with this year's WrestleMania. That is a discussion point that is happening in creative and a discussion point that is being raised with John Cena. Spider-Boss says, I hope we get Mercedes Mone versus Roxanne Perez Sunday. Hector says, I'm ready to see Rhea and Dom going to Ray's house after he's retired for Easter, beating him up again. Sean says, I know a lot aren't happy with a few models like Charlotte and Becky's, and also Becky's graphics aren't that great. Andrew Quinn says, I think this year will be Sting's retirement year. Venom says, what would happen with Theory if Cena doesn't face him? There are a couple of different options. Mustafa Ali is still very much potential involvement. No news on Rude or Dolph Ziggler. Venom, you may want Cena to be IC champ, but that doesn't necessarily mean he will. Wiggly would like to see Cena winning that 17th title. John Cena does not want to win a 17th title. Spider-Boss says, does Ray and Dominic work as Ray's final match? Yes, it absolutely does. Kieran says, the Rhea model in the game looks brilliant, one of the best. And Wiggly says, I think we are way past Sting's retirement. The last thing I want to discuss is wrestling journalists in general, because I've got to be honest, at the moment, it's kind of embarrassing to call myself one of them. You guys know that I like to basically just avoid terms like wrestling journalist. Most of them are gossip columnists. I can't exactly say I'm otherwise when I sit here sharing upcoming news, talking about potential storylines. But the last few days have been ridiculous when it comes to wrestling journalists. There's been a war going on between Sean Sapp and Vince Russo. Ringside News has decided to target Saraya for reasons baffling to anyone with half a brain. It's baffling completely. And this is constant. Before the Royal Rumble, there were moments when Louis Dangor was saying some truly ridiculous and unhinged things. Meanwhile, how many wrestling journalists are out there picking fights with anyone, diving into DMs, literally threatening to fight people? Hey, I disagree with you. I'm going to beat you up. I'm a grown-ass man. It is becoming increasingly difficult to take pride in the job I do when those are my peers. At the same time, though, obviously, I have plenty more to discuss when it comes to it, because, as much as anything else, these are the same people who are constantly attacking me too. So at least they're going after each other, as Venom is saying, at least they're going after each other and finally leaving me alone. At the same time, maybe I could get a feud with one of them. After all, we're all wrestlers apparently. It is absolutely ridiculous what is happening to wrestling journalism. But it's not new. Brad Shepard came back. Did you see that? Brad Shepard came back. Zero News, we broke down case by case on Monday. And yet, they've gained hundreds of followers since. Ringside News has 300,000 plus Twitter followers. Doing it wrong is doing it right for these people. Negative attention is still attention. Maybe I'm doing it wrong by trying to be honest. Maybe I'm doing it wrong by trying to be entertaining. Maybe I'm doing it wrong for just focusing on the people who are watching and not trying to pick fights with strangers. Maybe I should be jumping on Twitter, threatening to punch someone, because that's what grown-ups do now. It's like they are 7 years old and they are arguing over who's tougher. I'll give you a newsflash. You'll both end up beaten to crap and no one will come out of it looking good. There is no advantage here. But when we celebrate a grown man threatening another man, why would they ever do anything different? How many people were really celebrating the whole Billy Batty Sean Sapp engagement? How many people honestly thought that was worth their time? How often are you in a Billy Batty stream and he decides to attack me? This happened recently for Christoph. Why is it that so many wrestling journalists have decided that the only way they're going to conduct themselves is aggression? Not even passive aggression, just aggression, threatening behaviour, and doing anything possible to shut down anyone else who has news to share. Why can't we work together? Why can't we work together to hold big companies to account, to share news that matters? And yet, Justin, you've hit the nail perfectly on the head there. The slogan of this community: we will remember. All of this, the people here are the most well-informed in wrestling because they remember this. They remember the pointless scraps, the pointless arguments, the lies, the fake news. They remember. We will remember. Anyway. Leuven says, I'm waiting on the day all the lights go out, and when the lights come on, that sand timer is in the ring and everyone knows what it means. That would be cool. It would be quite cool. Harry says, do you think Kane might come back for WrestleMania? No. Leuven says, I want to be a journalist like you, but I don't got the sources. Go to wrestling shows, meet people. Get to know wrestlers, get to know production staff. Just meet people. Christoph says, can you imagine that it could be Cena, Edge and Ray's last WrestleMania the very same year? Time goes too fast. Thank you, Ed. Ed reminds us, don't forget WrestleMania, making up quotes from Vicky Guerrero. Yeah. Nobody seems to fact check anything anymore. Nobody. Meanwhile, I report that NXT UK is looking to shut down. It's confirmed 2 years later, admittedly, but it's confirmed that NXT UK was going to be shutting down, if not for the pandemic, which caused them to basically change their plans. And literally, I was referred to as an embarrassment to wrestling journalism for reporting something which was true. There was an outlet I worked at the time. I won't name names, but there was an outlet I worked at which told me I was holding them back. I was keeping big names from working with them because my reputation was so bad. You won't know the name of that outlet because nobody does. Because I held them back so much that after I left, they are still exactly where I left them. I'm on my soapbox now, aren't I? I'm on my soapbox. Leuven says fake quotes is crazy. Traffic says, heel Tom Colohue coming. I'm here for it. Ed wants Tom versus Ed at WrestleMania 40. Lauren says, being an honest journalist in this climate doesn't make money, does make prestige over time. I'm extremely proud of the community that we have built, of people. All of you can hold me to account. You can fact check me. You remember. You don't have short memories. You know when I've reported something right and when I've reported something wrong. You will remember because that's what we do here. It's not just for them. It's also for me. You hold me to account too. And that is vital for a free press. Vital. Leuven says, "Hi man, it just be like that. Sometimes in life you got to choose between recognition and integrity because not everyone recognises integrity. And ultimately, if you don't recognise integrity, why would I want you here?" It's a very, very good mention, a very good comment there, Leuven's. Mr. Stumble says, where do you see journalism with the future? Seems more TMZing of everything. Yeah, that seems to be where we're headed. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it does seem to be where we're going. Sean says, I'd like to see Cena win the belt and drop it to an NXT call-up on the Raw after Mania like Bron Breakker. Do you mean the US title? Because I could see that. Wiggly wants to see Ray hand the mask to Dominic. I don't think that's impossible. And Spider-Boss thinks we'll see the way on Raw. Ghost says, I see 2023 being the retirement year of many ruthless aggression greats, specifically Ray, Randy, Edge, the Hardys, and Cena. Hector says, okay, Tom, now I don't want Cena there, because if the backup is Mustafa Ali, he definitely needs a WrestleMania moment a little more than Cena. Maybe have Cena Fury at SummerSlam instead. Spider-Boss says, Sean Ross Sapp gets angry every time someone doesn't put him over with his wrestling news. And yet, how often does he put me over when I report something ahead of him? Swings and roundabouts, hypocrisy. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because, you know, he's got more followers than me. So that's all that actually matters on Twitter. Sean says, I'd like to see Cody versus Randy be seen as, or Randy be seen as last match instead of Theory. Theory would rather go out on his back to a new up-and-comer rather than rehash old ground. Spider-Boss says, after looking the things that SRS and Meltzer come up with, no wonder why Mercedes, Money and Roman don't talk to wrestling media outlets. They do not. That is very true. But there are a lot of people who do. Hector says, Sean Sapp and Vince Russo is a feud I didn't know I needed till now. Spider-Boss says, Vicky Guerrero recently denied what WrestleMania said about her. Yeah, because she didn't say it. And Ghost says, the unprofessionalism is far too much. It is way too much going on in the world to be arguing over such idiotic things on the internet. That's why these streams are great. We may have moments where disciplinary actions have had to happen, but we always tend to have fun and stay informed. Absolutely. I just saw a discussion where people disagreed on a wrestler. And after a couple of comments where they disagreed with each other, we all got on with our lives. Because there are more important things. Why is it so important to so many wrestling journalists that people think they're tough? Why? There's a lot of wrestlers who could definitely beat me up. I'd say the vast majority of them would beat me up without even breaking a sweat. What's wrong with that? The toxic masculinity in wrestling journalism is off the charts. You know, it's fine. Whip it out, measure it. Can we all just get on with our lives? Juan says people need to take news with a grain of salt. Dave Meltzer is always a hit or miss. Remember, he said Paige would never sign with AEW anytime soon. That's true. He very much did. And I think this is why, for example, when something of mine is confirmed by Dave Meltzer, even though we went through the rumour killer on Monday and Dave Meltzer didn't come out of it smelling like roses, it is still nice to have someone back your report. See, when the Wrestling Observer, when PWInsider, when Fightful, when Ryan Satin report something, that's actually one source. Doesn't matter how many sources they have, you have one source telling you something. So until someone else confirms it, you don't have confirmation. So we should be working together. Raymond says, continue to hold your head up high for being true to yourself and your business practices. Thank you, Raymond. I try my best. Christoph says, after Hogan and Beefcake, the Mega Maniacs, Sean Ross and Billy Batty, the Mega Eco Maniacs. I take the risk of reading things at times. Andrew says, that day I DM'd you saying that people are horrible towards you, like that one person on Twitter who blamed you for Sasha not returning. Yeah, very true. That was a weird one. I personally received the blame because Sasha Banks signed with New Japan. That was a day. Mr. Stumble, I'm actually not aware of what you're referring to, Ariel Hawani there. Blue says, you mentioned Cora Jade trending. May I ask what that was? I don't know. I didn't click on it. Leuven says, Vengeance Day watch along tomorrow? Nope. And Bismo says, how soon do you see Braun Breaker being called up? Relatively? It's hard to say now. They've cancelled that call up a lot of times. Bismo says, how soon have you... I've already read that one. Ed says, why aren't you tough, Tom? Come on, be tougher. I know, right? I know. This is why I don't get the scoops. If I was tougher, I'd get the scoops, because that's what it means. Bismo says, why can't it be about the business and not about the clout when it comes to wrestling journalism? A very, very good question. Blue says, Tom, what scoop do you take the most pride in? Okay, so there's actually quite a few. The one about The Rock working with Becky Lynch for the first SmackDown on Fox got a lot of attention, a lot of positive attention, so I was happy with that. But I think mostly it's about Sasha Banks. Michael will remember this one because it's the reason Michael initially followed me. A report that a lot of people were reporting that Sasha Banks had spat out her dummy, laid on the floor, bitched and whined, and was leaving the WWE at WrestleMania after losing the tag team titles to the Iconics. That's what people were reporting. What I reported was that she was taking a mental health break, she'd be back soon, and Vince McMahon was supportive. Then what happened. I got called a liar about that one by quite a few people. Follow up to Sasha Banks on the Go Home show of SmackDown before SummerSlam, which she did not attend, when I said she wasn't booked. I was called a liar for that by very prominent journalists, two of which have been mentioned here. I was called, literally named and shamed as a liar. A couple of days later, one of the people who actually named and shamed me as a liar was interviewing Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch said, yeah, the WWE knew a week ahead. That's why Sasha wasn't there. Yeah, they knew a week ahead. They didn't book her. Did they change their story? Did they say, we apologise for saying this? No, they didn't. Because it doesn't matter what's true. Doesn't matter what's true to them. They don't have to be honest. It matters what their fans think. They're appealing to the base. It's all very Donald Trump of them. They appeal to the base, and they do everything possible to make sure my message does not get out. Anyone who mentions my name gets blocked or gets attacked, gets targeted and bullied and harassed. That's to silence the message, to make sure that people don't know there's news right here for free. That's why it's so important that we do these quote tweets, that we get the name out there, that I keep pushing to make people realise what we're doing here is good and worth their time. Thank you for that question, Blue. It was a good one. Noob says, is there a storyline for Asuka based on the interaction with Carmella? No, I'm pretty confident the storyline of Asuka is straight at Bianca Belair. Traffic says, not even just journalists, by the way, Tom. I've never seen a place more toxic than wrestling Twitter. I did not realise that, Mr. Stumble. Fair enough. Leuven says, I don't think Brom will move up until he's won NXT title 2 more times. I definitely don't see that. Simon says, do you see Ronda Rousey leaving the WWE after Mania 39? She has a number of easy out clauses, one of which would allow her to do so, I don't personally see it happening. From what I can tell, she's not that unhappy. Christoph says, don't worry, Tom, people who follow know I'm not the kind of turning the other cheek. By the way, be proud of yourself. At least you do your stuff with honesty, integrity, and this is what I want to look up to. Thank you, Christoph. I appreciate that. It is funny seeing my name popping up on Sportskeeda again recently, but I'm referred to as a fan and not their previous senior journalist. Leuven says, can we talk about the difference in reports because you're messing up the bag? I don't understand what you're saying there, Leuven. Can you tell me more? Simon says, do you see Liv winning a world title this year again? No. Do you see Liv being drafted back to Raw in the draft? No. Blue says, Tom, I heard your Sasha scoops without you being named, and yeah, they were trashed. Glad I eventually found you and didn't take the BS warnings seriously. Yeah, I definitely got a lot of attention for a video I put out giving an update on the Sasha Banks and Naomi situation. That video got a lot of attention, and a lot of people really came for my throat. Then it was all proven correct. Bismo says, I think Tom has a Gray's Wrestling Sports Almanac he got by driving a DeLorean into the future. Maybe not. Dad says, what was your favourite genius moment? I did not watch when he was wrestling. I don't have any genius moments. I don't know. Don't know anything about the guy, to be honest. Spider-Boss says, it's fine. People choose to believe in Wrestling Observer and Fightful, but why do fans attack who doesn't believe in SRS and Meltzer? Cult of personalities. Hector says, imagine a long feud between Cody and Randy. Feel like it's not. But when it happens, if it happens, guys, if it happens, Randy is very, very hurt. As regards the whole cult of personality thing, the cult of personality thing, as regards that, they cultivate that. There is a intention that, and I think this is one of the reasons they're always attacking people. So many wrestling journalists are constantly fighting. The idea is their news is profitable, but if other people are reporting their news, it's less profitable. So they have to be the only one. You have to sign up to theirs and no one else's, because only their news is good. And what that creates is a massive distrust in the actual community. Sean says, I also believe Alexa doesn't talk to wrestling media outlets. Roasted a hater on Instagram. Good times. Alexa does not. The main reason for that was actually a Sean Ross Sapp report. And she went straight for him afterwards. It was when the pandemic first started and they took a break during the actual commercial break, and it was highlighted by Fightful. She did not like it. Spider-Boss says, I hope Cora Jade improves because since last year, only thing she does is imitate her idols. I remember Ryan Satin came up with a clickbait of Mercedes Venado cried and whined after WrestleMania 35. Sean says, I remember when that came out, Tom, about Sasha Alexa. Got a lot of the blame for what most saying she told SRS and Satin. Now I'm certain she doesn't even talk to them. She doesn't. She doesn't talk to anyone. JJ says, do you see Becky being a part-timer this year? Seth said in an interview she was looking more towards acting a little. Yes, I definitely see a limited date contract in Becky Lynch's future, and in fact Seth Rollins as well. Simon, you're asking the same question 15 times, mate. Move on. Leuven says, first comment, they said she was crying and complaining after losing the tag belts, and you said mental health break, it's the little things. Yeah. I reported a mental health break. I didn't report that she was crying and complaining because she wasn't. I made it very clear, I feel, in that report. Marcel says, always nice to know that when you listen to Tom, you know it's right and reliable. I'm not infallible, just to be clear, guys. There's plenty I don't know. And I've certainly been wrong at points in the past. That has happened. Certainly, people who've been here a long time will remember a Zelina Vega report from quite a while ago, which I apologise for afterwards, and rightly so, because it was wrong. It was proven wrong. I got sold on a wrong report, and that's on me. That's very much on me. One says, do you still see Mercedes Mone making appearances for AEW? I think it's possible. I've never said it's going to happen one way or the other. Roger says, I'm so tired I stayed up 6 nights in a row to watch wrestling. That's on you. Hector says, any chance we get a mention of Evolution on SmackDown or no? Possibly. We'll see how it goes on that one. I don't think they really want to focus on past that much. Michael said, the 2019 Sasha report that I was referring to was my this guy better be right moment, and then she confirmed it all herself on her Chronicles episode. I remember watching that Chronicle. Everything confirmed. Minute details. And you can tell why she doesn't really talk to many wrestling journalists. Simon says, do you see Austin Fury return the US title? Yes, I do. And Mr. Stumble says, when articles say sources say, does that mean at least 2 other journalists confirmed or 2 other third parties? That will mean sources to the journalist. However, and this is a really good question, I can definitely tell you one wrestling journalist who will ask other wrestling journalists and use them as sources. They are not sources for one simple reason. If one source says to 2 wrestling journalists, this is happening, and then someone says, oh, I've got 2 sources, you don't. 2 other people have the same source. You have one source. This is why it's vital that you check your information. You have to check your information. Gaza Slot says, do you see CM Punk returning to feud with Seth Rollins? Absolutely not, no. Seth Rollins will be taking on Logan Paul at WrestleMania. There is very little interest in CM Punk returning to the WWE on either side. And Luvin says, when people say sources say, I just say their sources are, just trust me, bro. I fact check all of my information here. Quite often I don't come in with massive pieces of news, but I'm sure many of you remember, before the Royal Rumble last year, I was on Spoiler Warning on the Monday, reported that the WWE had reached out to Ronda Rousey for a return. 3 days later, it popped up behind a paywall, and suddenly everyone was talking about it. I am going to wrap us up there. We've been live for 86 minutes. Live for 86 minutes. And we have a watch party later on for WWE SmackDown. We did reach 2,100 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do consider it. It does make a massive difference to the growth of the channel. We have 56 likes. Please leave a like on your way out the door as well, because we are going to close it up there, and we are going to get together again for the watch party later on tonight during SmackDown. Gaza, that was not kayfabe. Seth really doesn't like CM Punk. They don't want to wrestle each other. In the meantime then, massive thank you everyone. Ooh, good work, Ed. Roger, I'm keeping my eye on you. That is absolutely not okay. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.